The Lord had clearly instructed the people of Israel.
You must not marry foreign women, because they will turn your hearts to their gods.
Yet Solomon insisted on loving foreign women anyway. He had 700 wives of royal birth, and 300 concubines, including Pharaoh's daughter, women from Moab, Ammon, Edom, Sidon, and from among the Hittites. And they did turn his heart away from the Lord. Solomon built shrines for all his foreign wives to use, for burning incense and sacrificing to their gods. So Solomon turned his heart away from the Lord, the God of Israel, and worshipped Ashtoreth of the Sidonians, Molech of the Ammonites, and Chemosh of the Moabites. God told Solomon,
Since you have not kept my commands, I will tear the kingdom away from you, and give it to someone else. For the sake of your father David. This won't happen in your lifetime, but when your son takes to the throne.
Then the Lord raised up Hadad, the Edomite, and Rezin, the Syrian, as Solomon's adversaries. Another rebel leader was Jeroboam, son of Nebat, one of Solomon's own officials. This is the story behind his rebellion. While Solomon was rebuilding the terraces and repairing the walls of the city of David, he noticed that Jeroboam was capable and hardworking. So he put him in charge of the labor force from the tribes of Ephraim and Manasseh, the descendants of Joseph. One day, as Jeroboam was leaving Jerusalem, the prophet Ahijah, who had put on a new robe, met him and spoke to him alone in a field. Ahijah tore his new robe into 12 pieces, and said to Jeroboam,
Take 10 of these pieces, for God is going to tear the kingdom from Solomon, and give 10 of the tribes to you. God will let Solomon reign for the rest of his life, but he will take away the kingdom from his son, and give 10 of the tribes to you. Solomon has disobeyed God's laws and worshipped other gods. His son will rule in Jerusalem, but you will have power over the rest of Israel. If you obey God, he will bless you.
Solomon saw Jeroboam as a threat and tried to assassinate him. But Jeroboam escaped and fled to Egypt, where King Shishak protected him. After a reign of 40 years, Solomon died, and his son Rehoboam became king. The leaders of Israel summoned Jeroboam to return from Egypt. Then Jeroboam and the whole assembly of Israel went to Shechem to speak with Rehoboam.
Your father was a hard master. Lighten the harsh labor demands and heavy taxes that your father imposed on us. Then we will be your loyal subjects.
Rehoboam replied,
Give me 3 days to think this over. Then come back for my answer.
So the people went away. Rehoboam went to the old men who had advised his father Solomon.
What do you think I should do?
He asked them.
If you agree to be good to them and serve them well, you can be their king forever.
They replied. But Rehoboam ignored their advice. Instead, he turned to the young men he had grown up with for their views. They said,
Tell them. If you think my father was harsh on you, well, I'll be harsher. My father used whips on you, but I'll use whips with barbs.
3 days later, when the people returned, Rehoboam threatened them.
My little finger is thicker than my father's waist. My father laid heavy burdens on you, but I'm going to make them even heavier. My father beat you with whips, but I will beat you with whips that have barbs.
When the people realized that the king was refusing to listen to them, they began shouting,
"Down with David and all his relatives! Rehoboam can be king of his own family. Let's go home."
As the prophet had foretold, 10 tribes deserted the king, and only the tribes of Judah and Benjamin remained loyal. King Rehoboam sent a Joram, who was in charge of forced labor, to restore order. But the people stoned him to death. When this news reached King Rehoboam, he quickly jumped into his chariot and fled Shechem, and returned to Jerusalem. When Rehoboam arrived at Jerusalem, he mobilized the men of Judah and the tribe of Benjamin, 180,000 select troops, to fight against the men of Israel, and to restore the kingdom to himself. But God sent the prophet Shemaiah with the following message:
Do not fight against your relatives, the Israelites. Go back home. For what has happened is my doing.
Rehoboam and all the people of Judah and Benjamin obeyed, and went home. So a civil war was averted. The people of Israel called an assembly, and made Jeroboam king over all Israel. So now the kingdom is divided into two, with Jeroboam ruling in the north from Shechem, while Rehoboam rules in the south from Jerusalem, over the tribes of Judah and Benjamin. King Rehoboam fortified various towns for the defense of Judah. He strengthened their defenses and stationed commanders in them. And he stored supplies of food, olive oil, and wine. He also put shields and spears in these towns as a further safety measure. But when Rehoboam was firmly established and strong, he abandoned the law of the Lord, and all Israel followed him in this sin, because they were unfaithful to the Lord. King Shishak of Egypt came up and attacked Judah in the 5th year of King Rehoboam's reign. Shishak captured the fortified cities of Judah, so all the leaders fled to Jerusalem. Shemaiah told them,
This is what the Lord says.
You have abandoned me, so I am abandoning you to Shishak.
Then the leaders and the king humbled themselves and said,
The Lord is right in doing this to us.
When the Lord saw their change of heart, he gave this message to Shemaiah.
Since the people have humbled themselves, I will not completely destroy them, and will soon give them some relief. I will not use Shishak to pour out my anger on Jerusalem, but they will become his subjects. So they will know the difference between serving me and serving earthly rulers.
So King Shishak of Egypt came up and attacked Jerusalem. He ransacked the treasuries of the Lord's temple and the royal palace. He stole everything, including all the gold shields Solomon had made. King Rehoboam later replaced the gold shields with bronze substitutes, and he entrusted them to the care of the commanders of the palace guards. Whenever the king went to the temple, the guards would go with him, carrying the shields, and then return them to the guardroom. Because Rehoboam humbled himself, the Lord's anger was turned away, and he did not destroy him completely. There were still some good things in the land of Judah,